Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This episode will be going over PvP so far within Season 2. Now, I would be going over both PvE and PvP, but I'm very much more of a PvP player. PvE is definitely not my strong suit, so I wouldn't dare comment on that and give my sort of expertise on it because I have none. So I'm going to go into the expertise that I do have in WoW, and that is more PvP sided. But let's get straight into the weekly news as always. Basrikron and Zakali Elders are your weekly world bosses for this week. Both can be found in Waking Shores, or Basrikron can be found in Waking Shores and the Zakali Elders in Zaralak Caverns. The Battleground event is your bonus event for this week. Essentially, you gain more honour by completing Battlegrounds. Arathi Blizzard is your brawl for this week. This just is a complete revamp of the Arathi map, essentially. Like, it's snowing, it's in a blizzard. And essentially, your field of vision is limited to probably about 25 yards-ish. It's really cool. It's really cool. Because you can just meet people on the road that you didn't even see coming, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're fighting here. And, you know, it kind of leads into a lot of 1v1 stuff, so that's always quite fun to deal with. Fortified, Afflicted, and Raging are your mythic affixes for this week. Fortified? Oh my god, my brain is just having a fart. Fortified is where the mobs, the non-boss enemies, are a bit stronger in the instance. They have more health and do more damage. The same for anything that they summon. Afflicted, there will be these ghosts that spawn, and essentially you need to top them up with heals. I'm not too sure what happens if you don't, but I would imagine that it doesn't help, and I imagine they give you some sort of buff for healing them. So tanks, if you really want to help out, like paladins and stuff, you can just Word of Glory them. Healers, keep on top of it. It's probably a good thing to heal them. And you have Raging as your final affix. This is essentially when they hit 30%, the mobs, they gain a 100% damage increase, and you just want to either soothe this or you want to kill them very quickly. We have the Fangs of Ashamain are the artifact weapon that we will be looking at. And I thought about these. The Fangs of Ashamain, the Scythe of Valoon, I can go through the entire history of them, to be honest. This is obviously for a different purpose. This won't be in accordance with their artifact power, as some artifacts have a lot more history and lore to them. But it's sort of just going forward, this is what you can kind of expect as this part of the segment almost. So we have Ashamain's Bite. Your combo point generators against targets bleeding from your rip have a 10% chance to awaken the Spirit of Ashamain, which inflicts a shadowy duplicate of that rip on the target. So this just means that you can have 2 rips, essentially, on the target, which is really, really cool. Ashamain's Energy. Tycho's Fury generates an additional 5 energy every 1 second for 3 seconds. Very cool. Ashamain's Frenzy. This is the actual ability, the very first ability that you got by unlocking the Fangs of Ashamain. Unleash Ashamain's Frenzy, clawing your target 15 times over 3 seconds for a certain amount of physical damage, in addition to your bleed damage for 6 seconds. So this is basically what Feral Frenzy is now. It's a very cool ability. You're hitting 15 times in 3 seconds. That's very fast, which is really fun to see. Attuned to Nature, increase the healing done by regrowth by up to 45%. This is really cool. Essentially, whenever you use a combo, not generator, combo point spender, so Ferocious Bite Rip, you get a instant cast regrowth or Entangling Roots, so your regrowth is just naturally better. Fangs of the First, your bond with the avatar of Ashamain strengthens, allowing you to further channel her great power, increases all damage by 5%, very simple. Feral Instinct, Berserk and Incarn, King of the Jungle, increases all damage you deal by 15% for 15 seconds, so a massive power spike there when using that cooldown. Feral Power increases the critical strike chance of Shred by 15%. Hardened Roots, your bleed effects will no longer cancel entangling roots early, which is really, really good. Honed Instincts increases the duration of survival instincts by 3 seconds. Not too bad at all. Open Wounds, the fangs of Ashamain tear deep into your target, causing your attacks to ignore 15% of the target's armor while Rip is active. This is actually really good. That's actually really effective against any sort of melee cleaves. Powerful Bite, increase the critical strike damage done of your Ferocious Bite by 21%. Protection of Ashamain, when you shapeshift out of Cat, gain 100% increased dodge chance and armor for 5 seconds, or until you shapeshift back into Cat. Oh my god, that's 100% dodge chance. Sorry if you heard my chest squeak. 100% for 5 seconds. If you go up against melees, like Double Warrior, imagine this. You just come out of Cat form and you just stand there. They can't hit you. How crazy is that? You just stand there and they cannot hit you for 5 seconds. Obviously, they can go behind you and stuff. But how insane is that? That's pretty good. Razor Fangs increase the damage dealt by Rip by 12%. Scent of Blood, each target hit by Thrash reduces the cost of Swipe and Brutal Slash by 2 energy for the next 4 seconds. Okay. Shadow Thrash has a 25% chance to release part of Ashamain's soul, causing all enemies to take 200% of your attack power as shadow damage over 2 seconds. That's really cool. Sharpened Claws increase the damage of Swipe and Brutal Slash by 21%. Shredded Fangs increase the damage dealt by Shred by 15%. And Tear the Flesh increases the damage dealt by Rake by 21%, which is really, really cool, to be honest. So the Fangs of Ashamain kind of made a lot of what Druid damage is, but it has a massive defensive capability in that protection of Ashamain. That's actually insane. But let's get on to the main part of the episode this week. And it is all about PvP in Season 2. So what's happening? What's the current meta looking like? What's fun? I'll get to all of them. But essentially, I want to talk about one thing, and one thing that really bothers me. We have had a healer recently that isn't been able to play. So myself and the other person that I play with, my other DPS partner, we both have ults that we obviously go on, and we go into looking for group to find a healer. We do this very chilled, relaxed. We sometimes go on ults where it's just very chilled, but we sometimes have ults of our main specs. So they're basically the same, but these two are utilized as looking for group bots, whereas the other, our actual mains, are used to queue with the healer that can't play at the moment. And what I've noticed is every single time, now I've noticed this for a while, but because I haven't needed looking for group for a very long time, or not a very long time, for a few months-ish, what I've noticed is whenever there is someone who has a weak mentality to the game, to PvP, or has just had a bad day, after one single loss, they will leave the group. Without saying a word, they will just leave. Nothing more to it. And this can get obviously very frustrating if you're looking to find a healer, because obviously healers are very much in demand right now, so they can sort of leave, join another group very easily, unlike DPS who need to find another healer and stuff like that. But if you're looking to sign up for a group, you need to be able to, not be in a weak mental state, as it were. Either you need to give them a contract to say that they'll stay for at least 3 games, for the love of God. Essentially, we've had a lot of people who are joining. We lose the first game. You lose the first game sometimes. It happens. It's either a very close game or you get rolled over just because, shit happens. And they'll leave. No matter which, outcome it was a very close game or it was a steamroll by the other team, they will leave. And this is oh, okay, well, it happens. But it happens so frequently. And I imagine this isn't the, something that I'm just experiencing. I imagine that this is something that a lot of people experience if they're playing with one other teammate who want to do threes, or if they are the person who leaving, they probably are the ones who are like ruin it for others, because it takes a few games to sort of understand how people play. And I do have to mention this. I've gathered my data, and from what I see personally, people who leave after one game are those who are lower in their experience. So if I go off of last season, about 2.8 was probably high. 2.8 was probably very high. I don't think anyone got 3K. There might have been one or two, but 2.8 is high. 2K is relatively good that season, and 2.4 is your like very good, like high-end players. 1600 is probably like a fair amount, but I would say a lot of people are around 1400 in that season and are quite steadily at 1400 MMR because of how deflated it was last season. These people who have been sort of that MMR have very weak mentality when it does come to PvP. Not everyone. I do want to say that, not everyone. But this is what I've noticed. People who we pick up to play with, because these are on ults or something, we're not really looking to go crazy, push to rank 1 and whatnot. We're just looking to have a chill time, and we do push. We do push even though we're like having a very chill time. But after one loss, people leave. Now, I've had games where we've actually won the game, and it was a very close game. It was a very solid game. It was, against a meta comp. It was like Rogue Warlock or something, and we were boomy like Hunter. We've won, and it was a real grueling game. We really had to grind out the win, but he still left. And that's what I don't get. Like, it was a really good game. It was a game that people actually would enjoy and be like, oh, that was fun, we'll carry on. But no, he said nothing, left, and that was it. We've had people who were, like, so ridiculous. We've literally had people who join the game, or join us, play the game. They have messed up. They have actively messed up. You know how you rotate cooldowns? It's like, okay, I've used my cooldowns, kind of. It should be on him to save me next if he's in CC. If he doesn't a trinket, it's one of them things, you can't help it. Circumstances all, like, change throughout the game. And we've had games where my teammate is CC'd, he's a hunter, so he's got no trinket, no turtle, or he does have turtle, but he has got no trinket. He has exile and everything. He has everything, but he has used his trinket. And this trinket was used to save himself as well. He just didn't need to press anything in that go, because he managed to see the danger early, and I managed to get a clone in the meantime just before I got CC'd by the other DPS, that kind of thing. So he is in a kidney shot, and this Warlock is pumping Chaos Bolts in. Our healer is free. Completely free. They didn't CC him at all. I don't know how. They messed up the sort of DRs or something, most likely, the diminishing returns. And essentially what has happened is our healer is spam flash healing him, but he's not out healing the damage that is coming out. I think it's like Deathmark as well as Chaos Bolts flying in from a Destruction Warlock. Our guy has Pain Suppression, Dome, Void Shift, and I'm pretty sure like Rapture as well. He has big defensive cooldowns that he could use. Instead, he decides to press none of these. Our hunter dies. We leave the arena, and then he proceeds to blame the hunter for not pressing turtle when he's in a kidney shot. Like, he proceeded to blame him and then instantly leave. And that's the thing. We checked him and stuff when on like check PvP, and he was a lower rated player. And this is the thing, it's the mentality side of, what could I have done that game? I could have void shifted, I could have saved him and not have used a trinket or a lot of mana. I could have pain supped, and then even if I did get CC'd, he should have been fine. I could have leap of faithed him behind the box to line of sight the Warlock that's just doing damage to him. He doesn't think that way. He thinks he died and he had all of his buttons, So he's the problem. Whereas he still had all of his buttons and wasn't kidney shotted or in any form of CC. So, like, I just don't get it. I don't get people's mentality towards the game sometimes and the way that they view it. But it's a massive problem. People completely just shutting down after one game and leaving a group. It's so common and it's such an annoyance. Now, if they can do something to stop that from happening, now maybe not like completely, because I understand if people actually have to go, if there's an emergency, if people have to just insta exit game, all of them things. But kind of like solo shuffle, like or even just give them like a sort of contract or an idea of how long you can play for. So it's like, oh, I can play for a few games, I can play for several games, I can play until this time, when they're signing up, maybe. Who knows? Do something like that. But I think Looking for Group kind of needs a little bit of a revamp in terms of what it needs to do. It needs some love, maybe. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a pet peeve that I have noticed over the past couple days. The meta right now, let's see, what is the meta? Enhanced Shamans, Destro Warlocks. I've seen quite a lot of sub-rogues, but the thing is with sub-rogues, they don't do a lot. They only do something on their actual go, their secret tech go. What a sub-rogue does is set up for the other DPS. So if you see a rogue going for CC, what you want to be doing is CCing the other DPS. Because unless the rogue has his cooldowns, which is secret technique, he will not be the one killing killing their kill target. It will be the warlock that he's with, or the enhancement shaman, or the warrior, or something. It will be one of them. So I think you're looking at enhancement shamans. You're looking at warlocks, destro warlocks. You're looking at Boomy. The only thing with Boomy is I think that you can get switched to, and you're very much a ramp class, kind of like Affliction Warlock. And if you kind of stop that ramp, it isn't as sort of scary for the most part. But essentially, you're looking at these classes. Fury Warrior's getting a little bit. I'm not sure about that. Fury Warrior's looking a little bit like in the shadows. It's lurking almost. Healers wise, I'd say all healers are doing decently. There's obviously the few like Holy Paladin need a bit of love. Maybe Holy Priest, them kind of specs. But Mistweaver, very strong pick right now. Discipline Priest, I would say, is a solid pick as well. Resto Shaman with the right comp. All healers are somewhat decent, but I think there's a couple of specs or healers that do need a little bit of love. I'm not going to lie. I would say the meta is very much going to be towards casters. If you're looking to take away crit or end crit, I would imagine it's towards casters, because obviously warlocks can just negate crit completely. Paladins will soon be able to negate crit with their recent change on the PTR, their new PvP talent that just stops that for 6 seconds. So yeah, they're looking at a lot of changes, and I think that if you're looking at a meta, it would probably be a good caster meta more than anything. The only thing that I can kind of see breaking that would be enhancement shamans, because they bring grounding totem, they bring tremor totem for fears, they bring Earth Shield passive heals, they bring a lot of damage, a lot of very bursty damage as well, which can be like very much utilized against casters, against stuff like Shadow Priests, against stuff like warlocks who just survive off of Soul Leech and stuff like that. So I would imagine anything with an enhancement shaman would be good. But you got the same as like Cupid Cleave, which is your hunter retribution paladin. They're still very good. Rets are still very good, but people are just sleeping on them because they think, oh, they're not like going to one-shot or as overpowered as they were at the end of Season 1. They're still good. They're still very solid. People just don't care. They look towards what's new. The flavor of the month, which is a warlock. Like, honestly, if you just played Ret Paladin, you would see how good Ret Paladin still is. It's ridiculous. Please just carry on playing your Ret Paladins. I enjoy playing against Ret Paladins as a boom kitten. I love having them chase me for about 10 minutes while they're unkillable. That kind of deal. Yeah, I would very much say it's looking towards a more caster meta. And I would very much say it's yeah, enhance would be the melee to sort of I say melee in very light terms. They basically one-shot you from half the map away, but they are the melee that would break any caster team, essentially. From what I see anyway, just because of their utility and the way that they deal damage. In terms of what's fun, honestly, you're going to have the meta classes, Warlock. Boomy, I always find fun, but that's personal opinion. Sub Rogue, if you can get it down, can be hilarious because I've seen sub rogues that just 100-0 people in a global with secret technique, which looks very fun, but being on the receiving end of it is not fun. If you're someone who enjoys dishing out that sort of pain to people, by all means play a sub rogue. But yeah, it looks quite fun, I'm not gonna lie. Hunters are quite, slept on at the moment, or they're not at the forefront of people's or thoughts at the moment, purely on the basis that Warlock is there in everyone's face. So yeah, they're kind of flying under the radar. Warrior, Fury Warrior is looking up a bit. The stocks in Fury Warrior are definitely going up. But, I would definitely say there's a lot of things that are fun. There's not a lot that are unfun at the moment. And I think Dragonflight has done a really good job at, doing that. I'm trying to think what might be unfun to play, but I honestly don't think there is much. Maybe like Arcane Mage or Frost Mage at the moment, even though Frost Mage is getting a few little tweaks in the next patch, which will be cool. So they might become a bit more enjoyable with Ray of Frost buffs and stuff like that. But there's a lot that is like really enjoyable, and fun is obviously very much subjective. Like what I find fun, you might not find fun. But I would say everything is in a very solid place for enjoyment purposes. But there are still stronger classes that have had buffs, and it is a power creep that is now caught up to them, because Destro Warlocks were good at the very start of Season 1 and then dropped off quite heavily, and then they slowly got buffed, and suddenly they're, boom, in your face every single game, Destro Warlock, that kind of thing. It is what it is. Power creeps happen in games, and you just got to deal with them. But yeah, it is what it is. But that is where I will end it for this episode. It is a very short one, so I do apologise for that. But we had a long one last week, so hope that makes up for it. But thank you all very much for listening. Do check out the socials, Twitch, YouTube. They're all down below in the description, as well as support the show. It will mean a massive show of support to Pig and Whistle. I can't thank you enough for just listening to the podcast, but that little extra support will go a massively long way to supporting the show, getting more episodes out and stuff like that in the future. Thank you all very much for listening once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.